Peace, y'all. Piper Carter. Oh my goodness. I apologize. I'm like 30 minutes late. I had a time. I had a little situation going on. Trying to get to y'all. So please forgive me. But I appreciate everybody that's up in the building. What is up, Yipper99, Omari Amsterdam, Tracy Grenville. I appreciate everyone that came to kick it with me. As people come in, I'm gonna y'all don't even know. You know what happened? I don't know, but I left the computer on today, so I didn't mess with it too much. And then um I decided to I don't know, I didn't do anything. I came and I what did I do? Nothing. I set up the episode on StreamYard, and then I came downstairs, and then I got on here, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, the camera settings were like set to the EOS so that I would use my R5. But I downloaded the Canon software, the EOS software, like a while, maybe like 2 months ago. And I've been trying to make my R5 work. And for some reason, I don't know if it's my MacBook or whatever. I told y'all, this MacBook Air I got in 2019 as payment for a job instead of money. It's not so they had told me they were going to buy me this other MacBook, which is the one I actually need to like produce video. I'm glad for anything free though, so I didn't complain when they gave me this model, but it's the Air, and this one isn't really made to like do all the things that I need to do. Because she was like, "Oh, what about your computer?" Child, any hootie rooty tootie. I got beat. It's whatever. I got a computer. It's not the computer I need, but guess what? I'm making it do what it do. And fortunately, I'm pretty tech savvy, so I know how to make things work in the ways that I need them to work for me. But there are limitations. And for whatever reason, the R5 doesn't, or the StreamYard, I'm trying to think of what it is. Either the StreamYard doesn't talk to the R5 with this operating system, which is the Sonoma. Any hootie rooty tootie. I either get a new computer or a new camera. I'm thinking I get a new computer because my camera is pretty dope. So those are first world problems. So let me stop. So with that, I ended up having to, because it was only showing me the EOS app as a choice in StreamYard. And then I was like, what on earth? And so I kept trying and kept trying. And I just had to like shut it down, go back to the Canon site, re-download the app, do the whole reinstall, shut the operating system, everything down, restart and redo everything. And then here I is, still not with the Canon camera. This is the low budget camera that comes inside of the MacBook Air, but y'all can see me. We're ready to go. I thank everyone for joining me. I'm sorry I put up a late episode. I've been busy, y'all. So before we get into it, as we wait for other people to get in, so last week was World Water Week. Shouts out to our water. Friday was World Water Day, and I've been a water activist probably all my life, but most actively since the Flint water crisis in 2014, which, by the way, y'all, next month is going to be the 10th anniversary. And guess what? Flint is still not fixed. And I was with some Flint activists this past week, as well as other water activists from across the state of Michigan. And they got a message for y'all. They said Flint is not fixed. I'm going to play my Flint's not fixed video next week because I don't have it available. Although I do have it on my phone, I could try to send it over in the meantime, in between time, couldn't I? Um, but so last week I on Tuesday and Wednesday I went with was one of the water groups here in Detroit, and our capital is it's called Lansing. And so long story short, uh we Tuesday we went to go talk to these Republican House representatives, and Wednesday we went to talk to these Republican senators. Why, you ask me? Because we have a piece of legislation that we need, and it's a clean water bill package for a clean well, no, it's actually an affordable water bill package. And basically what it says is that everyone in the state of Michigan should have access to clean, healthy water. And what that looks like is, well, so I think I tell y'all about a lot of this stuff, but I'm gonna repeat myself. So if y'all heard this before, forgive me. But if y'all haven't heard it, so a few things. One, um, in Detroit, when and Flint and different places in Michigan, when they come to well, number one, they have something called a drainage fee. And the drainage fee is, and if y'all came here for women in hip hop, my version of women in hip hop, I also do environmental justice, and I'm an eco feminist and a hip hop feminist. So having black women having access to clean, healthy water is hip hop for me. Okay, that's the raw, uncut hip hop. And when y'all listen to my story, y'all gonna know how hip hop it is, and the ways in which they criminalize black women and black people just for trying to have clean water. Mm, so they do something called a drainage fee. And what the drainage fee is basically like an extra tax on residents, right? And so the residents end up paying this extra money for like corporations, right? And so whereas corporations can owe upwards of like tens of thousands of dollars for, unpaid water bills, they'll come after your grandmother and for like, $30 or something like that. And then if that's not bad enough, then when, let's say, if you're a so-called single parent or an elder, disabled, whatever, if you also happen to have minors or children, anyone under the age of 18 in the home, when they come to cut the water off. So number one, the Detroit Water and Sewage Department decided that they send the sheriff or Detroit Police Department along with Child Protective Services. And so the parent or guardian also gets charged with neglect and abuse, right? And so you're unable to fight it. They take your kids from you. They put them in the juvenile detention, and then you're fined, and you lose your kids almost permanently, because obviously if you don't have $20, $30, $150 or $250 to get your water cut back on, you definitely don't have money for an attorney to fight charges of neglect and abuse and trying to get your children back from the state. And then they get these children and put them where they put them to get the money off them, criminalize the parent. Like, it's a whole thing. Peace, Leah Boggs. And so with that, um, yeah, so that's a whole thing that we're fighting against, to decriminalize that. Another thing is, let's say you do, have your water cut off, and then you're in the home, and then you figure out a way to like call a friend, a cousin, or you try to get go down there and shut the water on yourself. Right now in Michigan, that's a felony. And so we want to get that. I mean, water should be free. No one should be criminalized for trying to have clean water. But we want to get that reduced to it's like a ticket and a fine. You know what I'm saying? A civil infraction. Hmm. So what I was doing Tuesday and Wednesday with one of the groups, one of the water groups here, is we were going to we went, like I said, Tuesday we went to our local our state House of Representatives and in Lansing, and water warriors came from all over the state. And Wednesday we talked to the state senators, and we got like 5 points of the bill. That's the state bill. There's other things that are on the bill, like shut off protection, so people don't even get into that, because obviously if you're in fixed income, elder, disabled, veteran, whoever, child, you're not gonna your money's not going up, but the bills are going up. And so we want to have folks be able to be in a shut off protection. And then another part of the bill is we want to fund, this is the hard part, where water activists differ. So what we really want is true water affordability, right? What it means that everyone, even though we want water amnesty, which, we want everyone to have free water, but we know that's not going to happen. So in the meantime, as we fight for that, we want true affordable water, which means you're going to get rid of all these extra fees that you're charging residents for paying for corporations. You're gonna, like I said, get rid of the criminalization, especially of Black women, because think about it, in Detroit is a Black majority city and a predominantly Black woman led households. And so who you're criminal, and a lot of people are under the so-called poverty line. So that impacts like mostly Black women, you know what I'm saying? And it impacts the families, and it impacts the children, and it impacts the communities. So that's a public health hazard. And plus, if you cut off water, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people on the block, that water is sitting, which means whoever's water is on, they're getting that water, right? We have lots of other water challenges. Like I said, we're the Great Lakes, which is the freshest body of water in the world. Actually, we have other problems like runoff issues. We got this double sewage thing, where when it rains and it floods, the sewage also goes into the river. And so you're getting like sewage that's supposed to go to the treatment plant, and then the fresh water is supposed to go to the houses, but it's all getting mixed up. It's crazy, y'all. So you got a lot of people that's still in Flint bathing, cooking, eating, and living off of bottled water. Flint, they told me to tell y'all that it's not fixed. That's a direct message. I'm gonna look for the I made a little video because I said I told them about y'all, and they were like, yeah, we got a message for everybody, because basically what they keep telling people is that Flint is fixed and that Governor Snyder was convicted. And technically what happened, Governor Snyder was convicted, but guess what? It got overturned. Right. So this governor of the state of Michigan literally got away with murder. That's not allegedly, because people died. And also too, if you're like under the age of 5, you would suffer like permanent brain damage. You know, um, there's just all types of tomfoolery. Um, there's just all types of tomfoolery that folks have been, dealing with. So the folks at Flint were like, we need everyone to know that They did give some money for the infrastructure, but not enough, and it didn't really fix the infrastructure problems that they had. You know what I'm saying? It just gave a couple dollars to the city, but it didn't really help the 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 problem. Like, they really need to replace like all those pipes, in the city. So if you know about the Michigan, Detroit still has pipes from the 1700s, and they're like made of clay. And so that's why when we have all these floods and things, it exacerbates, the floodings in the basements, and all these people, FEMA was giving people, they're still giving people money through like until August because of all this flooding. It's a mess, child. It's an absolute mess. But any hootie Rudy tootie, I can go on and on and on about water. I'm trying to send myself the video to show y'all so that y'all can see it in real time. I got it on my phone, and I probably should have sent it earlier, and I apologize about my production faux pas. But in the meantime, while I try to find that, I want to say peace again to everybody that's listening. I have this. So last week, I'm gonna go back to what we were working on before, and we were talking about was this it? Yeah, there we go. Boom. We were talking about this. Let me see. Can y'all see? Yeah. So we're talking about this special paper, and it's in the Journal of Hip Hop Studies, and it's the 21st Century BITCH Frameworks. Hip Hop Feminism Comes of Age. So 20th Century Bitch Frameworks, Hip Hop Comes of Age. So last week I read the introduction, so I don't need to read the introduction, but I am going to name all the people involved with this. So the editor in chief is Travis Harris. The managing editor is Shantae Paradigm Smalls from St. John's University. Associate editors are Lakita Burnett Bailey from Georgia State University, Cassandra Cheney from Louisiana State University, Willie Pops Hudson from Azusa Pacific University, Javon Johnson from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Elliot Powell from the University of Minnesota. Books and media editor is Marcus J. Smalls from the Brooklyn Academy of Music, BAM. Conference and academic hip hop editor is Ashley N. Payne from Missouri State University. She also helped co-edit the introduction we read last week. Poetry editor is Jeffrey Coleman from St. Mary's College of Maryland. The global editor is Samina Edu, who's an independent scholar. The copy editor is Sabine Kim from the University of Mainz. And then they have all these people on this reviewer board. And as you can see, do you see my name right there? But you got Edmund Ajapong from Seton Hall University, Janae Burkhalter from St. Joseph's University, Rosalind Davis from Indiana University, Kokomo, Piper Carter, arts and culture organizer and hip hop activist. Todd Craig is Medgar Evers College. Aisha Durham from University of South Florida. If y'all noticed, the flyer has Aisha Durham's picture on it. Regina Duthley is the University of Puget Sound. Leah Gaines from San Jose State University. Elizabeth Gilman from Florida State University. Kira Gaunt from the University of Albany. We've read Kira Gaunt before. Tasha Iglesias from the University of California, Riverside. She also started the Global Hip Hop Movement. That's the name of an organization. Andre Johnson from University of Memphis. David J. Leonard from Washington State University. Heidi R. Lewis from Colorado College. Kyle Mays from University of California, Los Angeles. Anthony Nocella II from Salt Lake Community College, Micah Niawalo from Shawnee State University, Rochelle R. Peck from Rutgers University, Antonia Randolph from Winston-Salem State University, Lisa Beckley Roberts from Jackson State University, Kevin James Rudrow from Syracuse University, Jacinta Saffold from University of New Orleans, Darren Smith from University of Memphis, and Melvin Williams from Pace University. Y'all, I feel pretty smart and good, y'all, and I feel good because I got put in here with all these scholars. So I'm kind of proud of myself for that, for being a editor on that. So anyway, sometimes you got to just be like, oh, that was kind of cool, and then just sit and feeling cool about stuff. Peace to Rouse Pasta Sauce. So the foreword was written by Travis Harris, and it has a content warning. Give y'all a couple seconds to let y'all know that there's a content warning. And since there's a content warning, I'm going to put up my little branding that I put that I made for that. So okay, boom. So I'm gonna start to read. So the reason I want to read the foreword is because this piece is a long piece. It'll probably be like several weeks that I'll be working on this piece. And the reason I want to work on it is because when I talk about hip hop feminism, I want us to be having the conversation from the same vantage point and understanding the language and who we're referencing. And yeah, I want to do it that way because as you know, like a lot of this knowledge is evolving, right? Or a lot of Black culture is just always evolving, right? So there's definitive truths and then there's like malleable truths. And I think when it comes to hip hop, I kind of look at hip hop like jazz or any other cultural form or contemporary cultural form, in that it evolves over time, and it also morphs kind of depending on the who and the where and the what, right? And so you know, or even it doesn't matter, like even in doing organizing work, community work, I just think that definitions are really important. And definitions aren't just like words, they're also viewpoints, they're also ideas that come from, you know, certain authors and that kind of thing. But just as defining I don't want to say the parameters, but just as defining like what we mean, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna take in this forward, right? And I think the forward is really good in grounding us. So like I said, I read the introduction last week, which I think comes after the forward. And now I'm going to read the forward. So Travis Harris says, content warning. The first part of this forward mentions facts, but not details, about the murders of 3 Black people: Toyin Saliao, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade. So Toyin Saliao was found dead. Shantae Paradigm Smalls, managing editor of the Journal of Hip Hop Studies, told me on the morning of June 15th, 2020, during one of our senior editorial meetings. When they first shared the news with me, I felt a plethora of emotions: disbelief, shock, uncertainty. I desired to learn more details about the story and figure out why Oluwatoyin or Toyin Saliao, a 19-year-old young Black woman, was murdered. She went missing after protesting the police killing of Tony McDade, a trans man killed in Tallahassee, Florida on May 27, 2020. Further complicating this grief is the fact that Toyin was murdered, tortured, and assaulted by a Black man. Instead of supporting, following, and protecting Black women, Aaron Glee is charged with allegedly taking her life after holding her captive and torturing her for days. In addition to Toyin's sexual assault and murder shaking me to the core, it compounded the shock about the killing of Breonna Taylor on March 13th, which I first found out about in May. If I, a Black man, feel this way after these deaths, I can only imagine the depths of grief, rage, and confusion Black women, girls, and femmes feel and experience. It is within this context that the Journal of Hip Hop Studies is releasing its special issue on hip hop feminism entitled 21st Century Bitch Frameworks Hip Hop Feminism Comes of Age. I am grateful this is the first 2020 issue that the Journal of Hip Hop Studies is publishing. In 2018, Halliday and Payne charted the plans for this special issue on hip hop feminism while interrogating the new direction and theories of hip hop feminism. While the scholarship has been growing, they recognize a specific need to further and deepen the conversations engaging hip hop feminism. There is a misconception by those who do not know the specific historiography of hip hop feminism that hip hop feminism is simply a mixture of feminism and hip hop. 21st Century Bitch Frameworks nuances this definition, charts the course of the specific field of hip hop feminism, and provides a marking point for continuing this conversation. This special issue highlights the importance of all Black women and girls. Breonna and Toyin are well known because they are high profile murder victims, but they are only the systemic tip of the iceberg of the many ways in which all Black women are dispossessed in this country and around the world, from sexual assault to being one of the highest risk groups for pregnancy related deaths to wage suppression and theft. Black women's health, well being, and lives are under attack from seemingly every side. This special issue highlights the particular oppressions Black women who are hip hop feminists face and the ways in which they thrive. U.S. society marginalizes Black women from the hood who are not seen as respectable, who do not fit into traditional gender norms, and who freely express their full identity. 21st Century Bitch Frameworks not only celebrates Black women hip hop feminists, but contends that the theoretical and methodological contributions shaped by them are used as a framework and epistemology in and outside of the academy. We learned that word last week. Aria S. Halliday and Ashley N. Payne lay out the framework of 21st Century Bitch Frameworks in their introduction, called Savage and Savvy, Mapping Contemporary Hip Hop Feminism. Hold on. Additionally, M. Nicole Horsley contributes a hip hop feminism starter kit that can be used in community centers or elsewhere by young Black girls in high school or on college campuses. The mission of the Journal of Hip Hop Studies is to provide resources for hip hop and Black people to get free. While we say her name and proclaim justice for Black women, 21st Century Bitch Frameworks reminds us that all Black women matter, from classy to bougie to ratchet to queer. Let me pause there for a second, check the chat. How are y'all doing over here? Oh my goodness. I apologize. I'm coughing. It's dry down here in my basement. But let me keep going. Okay. And y'all go ahead. I know y'all chatters like to chat it up. Um so it also gives acknowledgments. And for those who ask why I read all of these credits and acknowledgments, it's because this is people's work and it's their intellectual property and their thoughts, and they spent a lot of time like thinking of these ideas, and they made them public for everybody, and I think it's important to credit them for their ideas, which could be difficult to understand if you just see a video of somebody talking. You won't know that these ideas actually have an origin. And I don't want the Black women scholars who did this work to go without being acknowledged. So that's why I take the time to go through this. And also, so y'all could look them up, follow them, support their work. So acknowledgments from co-editors Aria S. Halliday and Ashley N. Payne, stating names or recounting how you were murdered by men in circumstances that didn't acknowledge your love and pain, your passion, labor and hurdles, your joy and sorrow, your great depths and complexity feels cheap in this moment. But here we acknowledge and celebrate the Black women and girls who continue to show up for us, those we love through familial and social bonds, and those we do not know the names of that have made us who we are. We call to those on this side of humanity and beyond by name and by spirit. Thank you for making space for us while trying to make space for you. To quote the intro of India Ari's Acoustic Soul 2001, to all that came before, you opened up a door. Because of you, change gonna come. So this is from the EIC. So the publication of any special issue requires numerous contributions. I first would like to thank and acknowledge the work of the co-editors, Ashley Payne and Aria Halliday. They did the thing. Without their scholarship, hard work, and dedication, this special issue would not even have been possible. I recognize the inability to name everyone, but thank you to the team of reviewers who reviewed essays and provided excellent feedback. Shout out to the Journal of Hip Hop Studies managing editor, Shantae Paradigm Smalls. Their expertise, scholarly wisdom, and diligence greatly contributed to the publication of this special issue. Thank you to the Journal of Hip Hop Studies lead copy editor, Sabine Kim. Their attention to detail is paramount to putting this special issue out. Thank you to those who assisted with copy editing, Alexander Edelstein and Patrice Miles, everyone who contributed, worked solely for the love of hip hop and good scholarship. I also would like to shout out all the authors who contributed to this special issue: Camilla Davis and Nicole Horsley, Diana Kong, Kira March, Corey Miles, and Isis Kenny. I think I'm gonna go. All right, then this is how they set up the table of contents. So as you can see, last week we read this introduction here. So if you go to the episode before this one, I actually named it after this chapter. And then these are all the different chapters. We'll see how it goes. I may have to do like one episode per chapter, but I'm not sure. Because I haven't read it out loud. I mean, I read this out loud, but I haven't read like the whole thing out loud to see like how long it actually takes to read through it. But okay, what's this? The here and now? Is that still part of the introduction? Yes. So in the introduction, just to let y'all know, they were basically just talking about the different authors and hip hop feminist writers that um that they have been influenced by, or who influenced this work, or who we need to be reading, and share their ideas. And as you can see, they give us a really nice like bibliography. There's a great bibliography on here, um, that's full of all types of uh, hip hop scholars, hip hop feminist scholars. Um, and so we're gonna start with this letter to this one is called Letter to Jatavia Johnson and Carisha Brownlee, also known as the City Girls. And this is written by Kira March. So this is the abstract. This letter to Jatavia Johnson and Carisha Brownlee, the City Girls, argues that the rap duo's brand, music, and voices are prime examples of hip hop and percussive feminism. It also explains how their contributions to the rap industry as Black women, they spell women with an X, have inspired other Black women to embrace their sexuality, live freely, and disregard politics of respectability. Personal experience from the author are incorporated to display how the City Girls are empowering and inspiring a new generation of women and girls. Additionally, critiques from the media and double standards between white and Black women in the entertainment industry are also confronted. I'm going to just continue reading and then see where it lands after that. So, dear JT and Young Miami City Girls, all my life I've been taught to be respectable, or at least what society deems respectable, young Black women, whether it was being instilled in me from the Bible study leaders who exclaimed that twerking and glorifying God could not coexist, or obliquely from my grandmother, who, watching Nicki Minaj perform at the BET Awards, shook her head with disdain. Being respectable was something that was viewed as a necessity. I guess you can say that it's the Black Southern way. Black mothers, grandmothers, and aunties made sure that the young girls and their families governed themselves accordingly by prioritizing manners, proper attire, particular etiquette, and much more. From my childhood filled with slips, frilly socks, and yes ma'ams and no sirs, to my young adult days hearing other girls being labeled as fast or showing too much skin or twerking in the middle of the circles at parties, respectability was all that I knew. In my eyes, the ultimate goal was to always be seen as a lady. It was my obligation to do the right thing and the respectable and be respectable so that other young women could do the same. I had to consider how my family and every Black girl in Darlington, South Carolina would be perceived as a result of everything I did. Any mistake that I made would be attributed to all Black girls, even though white girls never had to worry about their actions being analyzed in this manner. For me, being respectable was the only solution. As I matured and began to form my own opinions on respect and sexuality, I noticed that I was perpetuating the idea that Black women can't and shouldn't be sexual. This idea is a consequence of respectability politics. Like the essay, the stage Hip Hop Feminism built says Black and brown bodies have been historically configured as excessive, with unrestrained desires representing women of color either as ladies and queens or as bitches and whores. Mm. That is taken from Aisha Durham and Brittany Cooper and Susanna M. Morris's The Stage Hip Hop Feminism Built a New Direction essay. It's on page 721 to 737. So, like the essay, The Stage Hip Hop Feminism Built says, Black and oh, I said that, right? Okay, yeah. So, to counter these stereotypes, politics of respectability have been stressed in marginalized communities. Under this ideology, I believe that I had to deny myself pleasure, excitement, authority, and ultimately freedom if I wanted to be seen as a queen. If the next woman wouldn't do the same, she was in the category of the whores. By doing this, I was harming myself and abetting a set of politics that aim to restrain Black women and treat women who ignore these politics negatively. If she's twerking, wears a bonnet to the grocery store, or shows any kind of sensuality outside of the four walls of her home, she's on the side of the ghetto woman and the whores that Durham, Cooper, and Morris mention. However, if she's meek, quiet, classy, submissive, and wraps her pearls and wears her pearls, she's a queen. These assumptions are incredibly restrictive, but many of us were yielding to these ideas and rules because of respectability. Because of respectability politics being taught to us all our lives. It wasn't until the end of my high school career that I realized that it's okay to shake your ass, demand pleasure, be sexual, and say what you want. The City Girls music and videos are what helped me realize that whether you're aware of it or not, you two amazing women are percussion and hip hop feminists at their finest who promote sexual positivity and destroy double standards. The City Girls are reversing the damage from respectability politics that has indoctrinated the hearts and minds of Black women from the 305 to the 843, including mine. The letter is my thank you to the both of you. Percussive feminism is noted as a term drawn from the definition of percussion, which is the striking of the body with or against another with some degree of force so as to give shock, impact, a stroke, blow, or a knock. In other words, it's loud as fuck. It's dynamic. It's bold and goes against all tradition. It's exactly what the City Girls do on a daily basis against the long-standing culture of respectability politics. We saw this kind of feminism in hip hop when Little Kim began Big Mama Thing by saying, I used to be scared of the dick. Now I throw lips to the shit, handle it like a real bitch. It was even portrayed by the baddest bitch, Trina, who exclaimed, You don't know Nanho that done tried all types of shit, who quick to deep throat the dick and let another bitch straight lick the clit. This brand of hip hop feminism has been practiced and promoted sexual freedom for a long period of time. It has been bold and unapologetic, clashing with the ideas of other feminists in society. However, after a steady reigns of artists like Little Kim, Trina, and Kaya, there was a slight lack in Black women artists who promoted this kind of agency. In addition to the mainstream decline, people viewed and still see artists who attempt to mimic Trina and others through the extremely critical lens. Aisha Durham, Brittany C. Cooper, and Susanna Morris make an incredibly powerful statement in their essay saying, the persistence of respectability politics often impedes hip hop feminism's attempts to formulate an unapologetic pro sex stance among Black and Latino women. Let me read that again. That's a lot of words. um, Aisha Durham and Brittany C. Cooper and Susanna Morris make an incredibly powerful statement in their essay. Okay. And they're saying the persistence of respectability politics often impedes hip hop feminism's attempts to formulate an unapologetic pro sex stance among Black and Latino women. This is perpetually seen today. Black women are ridiculed for showing a sliver of sexuality in music, television, or anywhere we go, which is probably why less women try to do so. It's the end of the world for Beyonce to show some skin, be inches away from her husband of 12 years, and dance in a chair at the Grammys. However, Britney Spears can wear beaded lingerie be caressed by random stage dancers, and display a failed attempt to grind on an what is it, enormous guitar at the Billboard Awards with no problem. Oh, and let us not allow Nicki Minaj to twerk in Anaconda and good form, or Cardi B to stick her tongue out and dance because it's too much for the children at home. On the other hand, Taylor Swift and friends can try to shake their asses and shake it off and be seen as merely having a good time. These instances that display the policing of Black women's lives and bodies make your music and lifestyle so important today. You're both continuing a legacy of percussive feminism that refuses to be censored or silenced. Despite double standards and criticism, it's refreshing to see and hear the two of you live and speak your truths. This is their album. Period. I guess they're in the kitchen with, I don't know what that is. But it's the cover art for Period. So when I'm rapping along to Sweet Tooth off your first album, Period, yelling, I need a real nigga with his dick long, come give a city girl something to sit on, or to take your man, when JT says, touch me, taste me, fuck me, squeeze me, once he do that, he'll never leave me. I'm throwing respectability politics out the window. Your lyrics aren't focused on being ladies or catering to your men, even though cater to you is a bop in its own right. You're taking control. You're expressing sexual agency and demanding that you need a nigga who gonna swipe them visas. The same percussive feminism is shown in your recent album, Girl Code. You make it clear that you're too bad for broke niggas. You're afraid to shout, boy, I'm not your bitch. So what the fuck is you saying? Even though it shocks many male and non-Black audiences, that's the point of percussive feminism. Your lyrics clearly disrupt and clash the way society expects women to behave. And you're doing it while going platinum. You even challenge respectability politics and display percussive feminism in your music videos. This reached an all-time high with the video for Twerk featuring Cardi B in 2019, quoting newscasters who, like many people, referred to twerking as sexual and inappropriate. The Twerk video was a masterpiece to many and an atrocity to those whose minds are cemented on the past. On January 21st, at 12:52 p.m. to be exact, journalist and political commentator Stephanie Hamill, took to Twitter to voice her opinion on the City Girls video. She was an example of someone who viewed the video as the latter. Hamill tweeted, in the era of Me Too, how exactly does this empower women? Leftists, I am Cardi B. Feel free to chime in. Thanks. Unlike Hamill, many women stared in awe at Young Miami, Cardi B, and other Black women simply because they were able to be free, dance, and simply have fun with no men around. Everyone had on thongs, bikinis, and Young Miami and Cardi B wore adorned thongs and animal print body paint. There were women left and right twerking in splits, handstands, and on stripper poles. The entire premise of the video was to show that Black women don't have to fit into respectable boxes anymore. We don't have to police our bodies and ourselves when in reality people are going to critique us regardless. It's one thing to hear the City Girls, but watching Twerk was a bold, powerful reminder that Black women can enjoy ourselves and ignore what the world has to say about us. Hamill and the masses may critique it and disagree, but this disapproval may just indicate that something is being done correctly. This generation of Black women are tired. We're exhausted by many things that have been constructed to detain, devalue, and ultimately destroy our self image and self worth. This includes politics of respectability, even though these rules were created to do the opposite. Being seen as a queen versus a whore doesn't matter to us anymore because the opinions of white people, black men, and even other women no longer phase us. We've arrived at the moment in time where being able to be ourselves and live our lives that the way that we choose is priority. Seeing women like Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Lizzo, Nicki Minaj, and of course City Girls revive percussive feminism and flaunt their sexual agency, positivity, and freedom. And freedom provides other young women with the courage to do the same. The little girls who grew up in South Carolina can now twerk until their knees get weak unprompted, while she still says her yes ma'am and no sirs for the culture. She now sees that conforming to society does not make you any more of a woman. In fact, she has neglected respectability in various ways and knows that no one can tell her what she can and cannot do with her body. You two are incredible examples of percussion and hip hop feminists who are paving the way for generations to come. I thank you both for allowing me to be able to soon liberate others because you two have liberated me. Period. Love, Kira March. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I got so many points I need to go back and check this chat. See what y'all saying. Uh I got so much thoughts, y'all. So, um, all right. First of all, where do I begin? Okay, first, I do agree about the respectability politics aspect of it in terms of like, young people having the freedom to be themselves and not have to be constrained by strict rules of respectability. Okay, that part I agree with. And now I'm going to say something, and I don't want to offend people. However, I got to go back to there's so many points that I want to make. The only reason I didn't interrupt myself by making all my points as I was reading, because I want to get like through the letter. But now I got to go back to the letter, and I'll just go backwards. So, first of all, like I said on the stream last week, I want to differentiate children from women. I know that I feel like a lot of these conversations they keep getting conflated, children and adults. Like, can we be honest that like okay, I practice black food sovereignty. I consider myself a maroon, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, come on, y'all, we still uh we still gotta like I think we need to parse out. Yes, we have all these freedoms, right? Okay, we're free. You're free to you want to call yourself a nigga, you want to call yourself a bitch, you want to whatever you want to do. You're free. Go ahead. Got your freedom now. You feel good? Now, if we move over to the left, like we stop worried about what white folks think about us. We stop worried about what, this old society rules. Now we over here in maroon land. Now let's be over here where we call ourselves leftists and liberated and uh all the things. Like, how useful is a lot of this stuff? Like, it's still messages of capitalism. Like, it's still okay, there's still constrained ideas of femininity. Like, I don't want to twerk around the thong. It's not because I'm be respectable. Like, I don't want to do that. It's not because, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think somebody's gonna whatever. I just personally don't like that, doesn't make me feel free. So, yeah, okay, maybe that makes you feel free, but I just think we're still, this article still, like, if we take this letter and we take it out of the context of like trying to like convince liberals, if we put it strictly in a leftist black liberal, a liberation context, radical context, like how fucking radical is it to put on a thong and twerk? That shit's fucking normal. Can we be honest about that? Like, I'm sorry, it's normal. Like, it's not offensive. It's not extraordinary. It's like that's what people do. You know what I'm saying? Like, women do it. Women identified people do it. Like, different cultures do it. Different African cultures do it. Like, to me, it's the objectification, that's the spectacle. Like, it's the spectacleization, right? So it's like we're still fetishizing bodies. We're still objectifying bodies. We're still making it like, oh, it's a spectacle. It's a big thing. Like, I think for me, like, I like taking these conversations away from like worried about what white folks think. Like, I don't care. It don't matter. Like, how is any of this, how is it useful to us? Now, it's great that we all want to be sexually free. Go ahead and be sexually free. We need to be sexually free. We need to be freed from the constraints of gender. We need to be freed from the constraints of puritanical ideologies about sex and bodies and sexuality. Like, we need to be free from that. And while we over here on this side of life where we've been doing this shit for like 50 years, it's an old conversation. And I'm not trying to, I mean, I might sound dismissive. I don't want to sound dismissive. Maybe I'm annoyed because having grown up in this, it's like that we've been saying that. And I'm like, okay, you twerking, you got on the thong. Where's your power? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got power to make somebody buy you things, turn somebody on. Like, is that power? I'm trying to figure out, like, where's our power to like make sure that our communities are whole and healthy and safe. Was this, maybe I'm going too far. Let me reel it on back. I'm gonna reel it on back. We're gonna slow it down. Let me slow it down. So, like I said, we got to separate. I want to separate children from adults, especially in conversations around sex. And the reason is because children don't have consent. Like, that's the whole nature, right? So we like to say that children have consent, but if we're honest, they really don't, right? And so conflating the whole thing, like, we had the whole culture before with Kara Gaunt's article about teenage bedroom culture, and really trying to understand like the safety of anyone, but definitely children who are in their adolescence exploring themselves and their sexuality in the so-called privacy of their bedrooms and their underwear on camera, where everyone can see it. And if we're honest, even with all this black liberation stuff that we talk, like, the internet is not a safe space. So for all the stuff that we talk about, trying to create safe space and safe spaces and keep women safe and keep people safe, and this whole thing, how is putting this stuff on the internet empowering and safe? I don't know, but I will say this about that. I don't have the answer. I just have more questions than answers. So that's the thing. I'm posing it to the chat. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Feel free to disagree. These are just thoughts I'm having. And what also is a bit annoying is when they say, um, that what did she say? She said she's doing this to pave the way for generations to come. I mean, y'all act like we ain't had moms Mabley. Y'all act like we ain't had um I mean, fill in the blank, Catherine Dunham, um, Dorothy Dandridge. Like, I mean, there's been like so many black women who were sexual beings, right? Like outward and open. I mean, even Lena Horne. Um there were so many people who have been, you know, sexual beings. I think I think it's important to separate like power over one's own body, right? Which is important, right? Power to know what you want, know what you like, say what you don't want, say what you don't like. All that's really extra important. That's really important for children and adults alike. So yes, having those types of conversations. But then on the other side is like, if you're just talking about adults, and I'm gonna call anyone 18 and up an adult. I know 18 to 21 is like quasi adult, but if we're saying adults, like how much of what you like and who you are is authentic to like who you are, if we say that many of these ideas were planted on us anyway through advertisements, media, right? So I know I'm probably all over the place, but these are things that come. So I want to put Yipper 99's comment up here. It says, no, I don't think you're going too far. Could they use that power to get clean water at cheap prices? The power they are talking about seems individualistic. Exactly. It's individualistic power, which we do need. But I think the claims that this article's making goes like real far. I think another thing, yeah, when it comes to like self-image and self-worth, right? This is useful. But in the land of like community uplift, not so much. Be honest with you. I don't think this is, yeah. And I think it's great. We did a whole video on decolonizing twerking. We know that twerking comes from several African traditions, and more recently we said from New Orleans bounce culture, right? So, and we know, I mean, I know in Detroit, and we had something called pop and shake in the 80s. I know uh this been going on. We've been doing this, right? Oh wow. Yipper 99 said, is this black buying power but with your body? Probably so. So I'm trying to go back to this part here. Because most of these are talking about like personal agency, right? I want to go back to this part here, because this part right here really this is where I got a little confused. I need y'all's help. I need y'all to help me on this part right here. Right here, where it says Aisha Durham, Brittany C. Cooper, and Susanna M. Morris make an incredibly powerful statement in their essay saying, the persistence of respectability politics often impedes hip hop feminism's attempts to formulate an unapologetic pro sex stance among Black and Latino women. It says the persistence of respectability politics impedes hip hop's feminism's attempts to formulate an unapologetic pro sex stance against Black and Latino women. So let me say this about that. Okay, boom. While I also agree, that's what I wanted to say. While I also agree with this where we had the conversation last week. While I also agree with like the sex positivity and pro sex, and I get it. Within the sex positivity movement and the pro sex movement, there's also like the pro porn movement and the pro drug movement. I'm gonna out myself and say, while I believe that porn should not be criminalized, right? Like I believe no one should be criminalized. How about that? And I believe that drugs should not be criminalized. I'm not gonna act like I haven't seen how in real time. I'm not talking about in a video. I'm talking about like in real world, in real people's lives. I've seen how the other side, let's just say that. I've seen people who've been impacted by these things. And negatively impacted. So it's difficult to like I'm not trying to do the respectability thing. I am just like trying to have a very analytical, difficult conversation because I don't. I had to. My little baby, my grandson is upstairs. I have a 2-month-old grandson, but porn is addictive. What is it? I want to say sex is addictive, but I want to say, yeah, like and so are drugs, right? Food is addictive, sugar is addictive, salt's addictive, lots of things are addictive. But I want to say how there have also been studies, and I get it, anybody could do a study, but if y'all want to talk over to the other side, we can talk science. But if you want to come over to the other side, I used to work in after hours, allegedly. And yeah, I've seen some things. You know what I'm saying? I done seen some ways in which things impact people for the negative. And we always have these conversations with my activist friends who are like these pro sex and pro porn and pro sex work people. And I want to say, like, I got a training once at Chicago Freedom School. This was my first activist training. I had been doing activism, didn't know it was activism because I was born into this stuff. So, and I had helped create this program here in Detroit, and alternative education, intergenerational alternative education, right? So shouts out to Chicago Freedom School. That was my first activist training, organizer training, formal, 2011. So I go there and we get this 101. It was throwing all these words at us, y'all, like oppression and stuff I had never heard of before. I'm not gonna say I never heard of it, but layman's term, we wasn't using the words, and my activism up to that point had been in New York City, And I had been more of an AIDS activist, especially being a fashion photographer. A lot of my friends were queer, trans, gender nonconforming, gay, lesbian. And a lot of them, people in the fashion industry, arts community, and AIDS was in the 80s and 90s really ravaging, and even early 2000s really I mean, it still is, but at that point really ravaging our community like firsthand. Like I've had probably like maybe 200 people I know passed away between probably like 86 to probably like 95, 97. Hmm. No, longer than that. From probably like 86 to probably like 2003. Probably had at least 200 people I know. Famous artists, people nobody knew, everyone in between. All kinds of artists, black artists, white artists, Latina artists. And the amount of people that it was impacting, the amount of people that it was harming, right? It necessitated in my heart like all hands on deck, right? Peace to Global Sisters Media X. And so it weighed on me heavy to like get involved in that fight. Um and I learned a lot, right? I learned a lot about the queer communities, and how to be an ally. At that time, I didn't have all this language. I'll be honest with you. At that time, it was different words, but I had a lot of friends, and I was losing a lot of friends, and they were dying, and I just knew that like that wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? So I learned as much as I could. A lot of people were not uh trying to, it was a lot of misinformation. So um I got heavily more involved because I was working for a photographer who was actually dying at the time from complications from AIDS. And a lot of the other assistants and things didn't want to work for him because, it was ignorance and people were thinking they could catch AIDS by being around him. So I ended up working for him through all the way until he passed away. Rest in peace. And we did a lot of great work together. We shot Leontine Price for Vanity Fair. I designed the lighting for that. We did Naomi Campbell for Vanity Fair. We did a lot of Vanity Fair stuff. Um and David Seidner was his name. And through working with him and also the after hours, I really, really was embedded as a cis hetero black woman in this community, and being accepted into the community because I was doing lots of hands-on work, with education, but also caregiving, just a lot of things, right? But being there to like actually, you know, see up close and personal the ways in which drugs and sex work was weaponized against people. Um Things I don't want to even say like on here, but just know that it's weaponized against people. So I'm giving y'all that background to say that those experiences shaped my belief that these things should not be criminalized, and they shaped my belief that they're also harmful, right? I don't know what to do with that. But fast forward to 2011, I moved to Detroit. I'm taking care of my mom. Now I'm getting my first activism training, organizer training, official Chicago Freedom School. I start learning all these words again, like I said, oppression, and I don't remember all the words, but I start learning a lot of the I started really studying, reading like history of Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer and the history of the movement and blah blah. So one of this 101 training they have, if you get a chance, go to Chicago Freedom School. They got a dope 101 training. It's a week long. It takes you through like all the justices and like this one organization, I'm not going to name, happened to be, it was my first introduction to sex positive. Well, to that language and that was an activism. Because before then, I'm a Gen Xer. So it was called in the 70s and 80s, it was called the sexual revolution. Um, and we had like, Madonna or Janet Jackson, right? Kind of or Sheila E, right? Like kind of and what else? The Mary Jane girls, right? So there was all these kind of personifications of like women wearing teddies and dancing and singing and stuff like that. Um and it was very impressionable, right? I'm gonna divert for a second. Quick story time. I was in the 7th grade, so this was 1984, and or 80, it was 84 or 85. Anyway, one of those. And I uh really loved all those people because that was that era, right? So I told you I loved music, had everybody's album. So I had my little allowance and that I used to get my little $5 a week that I done saved up and done went and bought me a teddy with the what's the thing that you put the stockings on and you put it around your thigh and it holds up the stocking. I don't forgot what it's called. But I bought like that. And then the like, the ankle, the stockings that come up to your thigh and the clips and everything. And the whole teddy, because I'm trying to dress like Sheila E. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking I'm like some version between Sheila E. Mary Jane girls. Ironically, I don't know that this is sexual. I know Garter. Thank you, Garter. I know it sounds weird that I was in the 7th grade. I didn't really understand that this was sexual. I didn't. I mean, I knew it was like I shouldn't be doing it. I knew it was something like that, but I didn't. My brain didn't comprehend like how sexual this actually was. And mind you, what was her name? Sheena Easton had that song Sugar Walls. And I did not know that what she was talking about, Sugar Walls. I'm thinking it's like a gingerbread house with candy all over the place. And I'm thinking that's amazing, right? So that tells you where I was, 7th grade. I was so clueless. So I put on this teddy and everything, but I knew I wasn't supposed to wear that. We weren't wearing uniforms in New York City. I went to school in Manhattan. Um, Shouts out to IS 44 on Columbus and 72nd. And so I put on my Lees and La Tigra over my teddy. You see what I'm saying? And I had on, at that time, we used to wear like fresh socks and stuff. And then I had on my shell toes, right? With my laces. You know what I'm saying? So I got my pink and white laces because they go match my teddy. So long story short, I done put on my stockings with the garter that come up to my thighs with my pink, ice pink teddy on. And I got on my socks that come up like to my knees. You know, the basketball socks with the stripes. Y'all know them was fresh. So any hootie rooty tootie. I got on my white socks with my two or three pink? I think it was 2 stripes, 2 or 3 pink stripes. And then I put on my Lees and Latigras on top, and then I put my jacket on top. Then I go to school. I get there early, obviously, go to the bathroom. Y'all know how we used to do. Take off all everything, and I'm sitting in class there with a teddy on, with my socks and my shell toes. And my teacher was like, and she called my stepmom. Anyway, it wasn't fun. My stepmom came up there with an outfit. Y'all know I was in trouble, right? Yeah, I was I was in trouble. I was in big trouble. They were looking at them like, what the hell? I didn't put it together, y'all, that that wasn't what it's supposed to do. But I'm letting y'all know my vulnerability as a child. I was a child, y'all. I was 11. No, I was 12. I was 12 years old, little girl, listening to this music that I didn't even realize what it was, and just wanting to be like them or whatever, being free, doing me, going to school, and it impacted. You know what I'm saying? It impacted me for sure. And then you know, um, it 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 in that moment, like I knew it was like, like something I'm not doing is not correct. But as an adult, as a 52-year-old woman, like I told y'all, the ways in which I think about children, and it's like, oh man, like these. So already as an adult, the media or whatever impacts your taste or what you think or whatever. It definitely does that for children, right? And as an adult, as I think back to a lot of the songs that were or have lyrics that talk about sexual relationships between adults and children, or say my girl, right? Or whatever, or 17, little girl, whatever. Um, yeah, I guess questions of agency come up for me, like questions of agency. Now, what does this have to do with the sex work thing? So when I was working in, I told y'all already, when I was in the fashion industry, a lot of the messages, as I look back, a lot of the messages in fashion are very pedophilic, and promote that, right? And whether it's like it's adults and children, whatever the gender, it's like adults and children, and it's the sexualization and adultification of children. Because I told y'all, most of these models and things are like, when they get scouted, they hire these scouts, they pay them exorbitant amounts of money, and they fly all over the world, and they go to different places like Russia or whoever, wherever, Brazil, and they find Africa, different cities around the continent, and all over the world, and they're looking for 6 foot tall 12-year-olds. They're looking for 6 foot tall 11-year-olds, 6 foot tall 14-year-olds, 6 foot tall 15-year-olds, and they do what's called grooming. And they teach them, they have them eat a certain diet so they can look a certain way, so they can fit the clothes and have the look that's in the season, right? And then um they're molded by the model agency so that when they're going to see these photographers, they know how to pose, they know how to do their face, their body. But there's this unspoken language. And I told y'all there was one episode that Tyra Banks did, mhm, on Top Model. And it was the one, need to look that young lady up because I need to stop calling her beautiful and dark skin with short hair. But she kind of exposed Tyra. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she did some videos talking about how she was pissed off about it. But in that episode, Tyra basically was telling the girls that they needed to entertain these rich men. And the men were from, like, I don't know, it's either some corporation or Wall Street, or I don't remember, something like that. And then she was like, I don't want to do that. And then Tyra berated her and was like, this is the business and you're not going to make it, blase splee. And in essence, that's true. Because that's how they do the black girls. The black girls, they send them to Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and they send them there the so-called Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, different places, they send them because, again, I keep telling y'all that fashion doesn't make money. All these brands, they're broke. Nobody buys that much fashion. Nobody's buying all these clothes. Nobody's buying all that shit. Like, it's just not true. It's illusions. Fashion is an illusion. It's marketing. It's whatever. And so, how do they get that money? They got investments and partnerships and things with these czars of these different countries. So, that whole Epstein thing, like, that's a real thing, yo. I mean, the ways in which they lend these children out and they pay for, and the ways in which politics is all intertwined in that, Halliburton. And let me just throw an allegedly in there, but all this stuff you can look up. And so let me reel it back because I'm going too far. But what does all this have? Because I could talk about this forever, but what does all this have to do with what I'm saying? The way in which your taste is shaped is because either it's needed for you to have us to have a certain, because I'm not about to say like y'all and me, for us to have certain ideology so that we either become an identity of a consumer, to consume the products that they want us to consume the ideas that they want us to consume, and to consume the personalities that they want us to consume or become, right? And whether it's to push whatever policies, whether it's to, you know, purchase things, or whether it's just mind control. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of this sounds like do 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 do. But I say you want to get scientific with it, look at the patterns. You can map all this stuff. And you can map it over time, and you can map what I'm telling you. So let me take it back to when I was telling you about um with the Chicago Freedom School. So I'm saying that to say that that was my very first time having encountered activists who openly identify as sex positive. And it was my first time learning about what sex positive all encompassed. Sex positive encompasses porn, it encompasses sex work, like it encompasses all that. Um, and the young people that we met who actually did the training were actually young people who were in sex trafficking, and they organized themselves, and they had however they had organized so that, let's just say they organized themselves. I'm not gonna say what they did just for their own safety, but just know they organized themselves, right? And I learned a lot. If I see y'all in person, I'll tell y'all the whole thing, but I don't want to record it. So I'll just say this to say that that was my first time encountering any of that. The language, the idea, like any of it. And I'm not going to front. I was bothered, like deeply, severely bothered by it. And what bothered me most was like that these were people who like didn't want to get out. It was like that's their identification. And I'd always thought of it like a negative thing, right? Like something you want to get out of. You're being forced to do this or whatever. I never thought of it as like people having agency and this is something they actually identify as and want to do. That took me a minute. I'm still not there yet. I ain't gonna lie. That was what, 15 years ago? I still don't buy it. Uh I don't want to laugh, but I still don't buy it. Um I still don't buy that. But what I do buy is that I think people should not be criminalized for for any of it. Um and what's difficult is now with this whole Diddy thing, did y'all see earlier that Diddy's one of his houses got raided. Which house was it? And his two sons were arrested and taken away in handcuffs, and it was like the helicopter footage, and it was like Christian and Justin. It was what, like a couple hours ago, right? Mm. And that's a whole thing too. Like, what do we do with all that? So, you know, when we talk about like agency, like, because this article, I'm going back to that, and I know I sound like I'm all over the place, but the frustration is that this article is talking about agency. And I guess when I look at the sex positive movement, like, I'm happy about the sex positive movement, like the fat positive movement, right? That people can be in their bodies and be fully in their bodies and be happy and feel comfortable and be safe. Um that's what I really want. I guess where the frustration and the confusion comes in is like, I guess knowing a lot of these people that made this music, I would beg to differ. I'm willing to bet that their reason for making the music has nothing to do with women having agency, right? I'm willing to bet it has nothing to do with that and everything to do with capitalism, which takes me back to the whole music industry, right? So it'd be different if these women were able to capture the industry part and control, right? Like the means of production. But in essence, they're still just performers. And I shouldn't say just performers as is to diminish them or their art or their personhood. What I mean by that is in the land of ownership, it's still a performance that isn't really controlled by them. So even if people write a song, does it does does them writing a song mean, like, what does that mean? It means that they're able to understand the market, as they say, and know obviously the sex sells, and instead of someone pimping them, they want to pimp their self, but still present it under the context of capitalism, and that I can do these things because it's going to get this man to buy me these things from these designers and stuff who we don't control any of that, and all the slave labor that comes with that we're not acknowledging, and the ways in which we don't even control that industry, and the ways in which we're just wanting to get our personal coin and our and be seen, and then like be sexy, but it's still for the male gaze. That's It's still for the male edification. It's still for the male attention. It's still for the men. Shouts out to men that are healthy and loving and not that man. But it's still not power. I probably went a whole long way around the block. Maybe that's why I was so frustrated. It's still not power. So hold on. What did Rouse Pasta Sauce say? Sex as commodity under capitalism makes room for a lot of exploitation, especially when the system has established unequal gender power dynamics. Thank you, Rouse Pasta Sauce. Those are the words. That's what I'm feeling. Let me put that up. That's what I'm feeling. Sorry, I got a little tickle. Rao's pasta sauce. Hit it. Bing, bing, bing. Can everybody just put a 100 in the chat for Rao's pasta sauce for hitting this on the nail. You got the words. These are the words that have been in my heart that I just didn't know how to say. Sex as a commodity under capitalism makes room for a lot of exploitation, especially when the system has established unequal gendered power dynamics. Right, Pancho said, fire. More fire. Rao's pasta sauce hit it. Bing, 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 bing. Right on the nose. That's what it is. It's not power. Because it's still very negative. I'll take your man. They're still talking about like ownership of people. It's still like competition. Man, Rao's pasta sauce. I think we need to end on that, man. That's hilarious. Rao said, "Famous studies herself to the Alfredos." Nah, buddy. We need to have some of that pasta sauce at our Rao's pasta sauce at our BLM in person gathering. But man, I'm gonna throw that back up for a third butt that out, because that's what it is, y'all. Sex as a commodity under capitalism makes room for a lot of exploitation, especially when the system has established unequal gendered power dynamics. Boom! I gotta start doing sound effects. But aren't y'all sick of those typical hip hop sound effects? With Funk's Flex and all that shit? Y'all not sick of that? I think we can end right there, y'all. Rao's pasta sauce hit that one. The bing 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 bing. So wow. Well, I do want to say this. I've only read the introduction and and that forward, and that's what it is so far. I'm gonna continue with this. Be a few more sessions. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Beyond Breaking Barriers, where we talk about women in hip hop every Monday at 8 p.m. here on Black Power Media. And I'm going to see y'all. I want to thank everyone for joining me, and I'm going to see y'all next week.